And then the planes started going down. People losing their jobs.
Look, I'll be honest. I'm not necessarily against a lot of that.
Willie D. Live.
You know what? I think that black people who call white people and other people culture vultures, the biggest knock that they have is when you profit from the culture, but that's all you do. You don't do anything outside of that. Like, for example, black folks are in this country are undoubtedly a marginalized group. We catch hell from this government every single day. And the white folks that I do know that are not, that people don't call culture vultures, they're actually out there walking with us. They fight with us. They when there's some bullshit going on, they call it. And those are the ones you never hear black folks calling them culture vultures, even if they are making money. See, because It's not just about money when you call somebody a culture vulture. It's bigger than just money. It's also about, like, walking with us, you know? And I think that's the big difference.
Listen, like a Bernie Sanders, for example, right? I don't think too many people call Bernie Sanders a culture vulture.
Not too many, but that motherfucker ain't down with reparations, so he can kiss it.
Okay, all right.
He can kiss her.
So what would be an example of a white guy who's not a culture vulture?
Paul Wall. Easy. Paul Wall is my brother. Easy. Like Paul Wall, Paul Wall gonna walk with us. You can call Paul Wall, and if there's something that's going on in the community, Paul gonna be there. Like, if he can be there, he will be there, and he is consistent. He don't do it for points. He is really passionate about it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Look, I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. It's not like I walk with certain groups and not with others. I'm just not a person who engages in that a lot, period. So I'm not going to say, well, I refuse to do it, but I will walk with the Jewish community and so forth. I don't walk with the Jewish community either. You know what I'm saying?
Well, do you walk?
No, I'm not really a walker.
You don't walk at all.
I'm just not a walker. So I'm not going to sit there and lie about all the stuff I did that you may not know about that I'm just making up at the time. Yeah. No, that's just not my personality. This comes down to being who you are. Now, Vlad TV did contribute to the NAACP during the whole George Floyd
that's big.
Situation. People bashed me for that. They were saying, oh, you should have donated Black Lives Matter. Then you see how Black Lives Matter ultimately turned out, with the buying themselves houses and paying themselves huge fees and so forth. And I have, I publicly supported Kamala Harris. I voted for Kamala Harris. I publicly put out my support for her. I was anti-Trump. We pushed the George Floyd situation in interviews. I've let I think that as a whole, I think my voice and my stances and what I've talked to my guests about over the years have all consistently been pro-black. And you could go through my whole catalog and you could see that. Now, of course, people are going to pick out certain things and so forth and say, well, that's not true. But when you look at what I do as a whole, I think I've always been pro-black. And I think that the track record speaks for itself.
Yeah. What does Vlad think about what's going on with this administration?
With Trump?
Yeah. What's going on with the, with people losing their jobs and, the way that Trump came in day one and started firing people at the FAA. And then the planes started going down, people losing their jobs.
Look, I'll be honest. I'm not necessarily against a lot of that, simply because government has always been a very inefficient system compared to private industry. look at the post office. Would you say that's a well-run organization?
No, that's one of the worst organizations known to man.
Yeah, go to the DMV. Go to and look, and in certain things, like for example, the post office, you can compare it to a private institution like a FedEx or a UPS, and you'll see how much better those organizations run. So I think that, and plus in government, and when you look at as a whole, listen, my mom had a government job, right? I'm not just speaking out my ass. My mom worked for the Navy, right, as a civilian. She was an environmental engineer. I seen a video accused her of being a KGB spy and so forth, all this silliness. But no, she worked as an environmental engineer for the Navy. And the reason why she took that job is because of the stability. My dad was trying to build his own company. He had a home inspection company. His money would be going up and down depending on how many clients he had that month. She had the stable government job. People take these jobs because they know that they'll get to keep their job. It's hard to fire them. And they can get away with a lot of things that the private industry just won't tolerate. A lot of stuff that people do in the post office, they would have gotten fired if they were at UPS. And the shaking up of the system, I'm not against it. Now, are you going to hurt some people in the process? Are some good people going to lose their jobs and so forth? Absolutely. And are some of the targets unfortunate? You know, like the, you know, I talked to a woman the other day. She works at the Library of Congress, and she has this this huge catalog of interviews with prominent black leaders in all different types of genres. And she was telling me how a lot of the funding in these African-American oriented organizations is being cut and so forth. So I think that's very unfortunate because in the process, you're going to lose important cultural things. But as a whole, I feel like the shakeup needs to happen. So I'm not totally mad, you know, with the whole DOGE thing. You know, like me and Vivek are supposed to do another interview. You know, Elon Musk is involved in the DOGE thing as well. Like, I think that some of this stuff is really going to improve the overall government system after the dust settles. But in the process, it's going to be ugly. But in any sort of real change, you're going to have a lot of people hurt in the process. And a lot of people are going to be unhappy because they've been able to, you know, keep things well for themselves because of the status quo. But ultimately, life evolves. Things change.
Vlad, the dude named a government organization after a cryptocurrency.
Right.
Department of Government Efficiency.
DOGE.
Not DOGE. Not that don't sound suspicious. Just calling it that already, it sounds like they're playing in our face. Okay, so here's what happens. Trump and Elon said that they were going to cut $2 trillion from America's budget. They're going to get us back to where we need to be, right? In the same breath, Trump has spent over $30 million just in 4 months in office playing golf. How do you save us all this money when the president is spending $30 million playing golf? And how can you how can we take you seriously when you start talking about cutting cost, like trimming the fat, draining the swamp? How can we really take you seriously, bro? And so now, instead of getting the $2 trillion cut, now Elon has admitted that, well, don't look like we're going to be able to meet our goal of $2 trillion, but it seems like it's going to be more like 15% of that $2 trillion.
Okay, that's not bad.
That ain't going to happen. That's not going to happen. You know why? Because every year the budget gets higher. It don't get lower.
Right.
Spending increases. It does not decrease.
Well, inflation also happens, so you got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and he should keep it in mind, too, because they're the ones running the organization. They should know more than anybody.
Right. I mean, look, like,
I don't believe in shaking things up just for the fact of shaking things up, man. You know, like, you got to have a plan. Shaking things up
doesn't always work, man.
You got to have a plan.
But at the end of the day, imagine if Trump cut income tax. You and I would be very happy about this.
Yeah, well, the thing is that whatever Trump does, he's doing it for him and his buddies. Look, I really, truly don't mind paying extra so that more people can have a better chance.
Right.
I really don't, and I've always expressed that.
Yeah, me too. I've always been a
way.
Democrat. I've always voted Democratic, from Bill Clinton to Obama. Did I vote for Obama? I just may not have been voting those years, but I supported Obama publicly. I voted for Kamala Harris. I voted for Biden against Trump. I think people forgot who Trump really was because 4 years had passed. And people felt like, something, maybe he's not so bad. And, he's kind of getting picked on, all these court cases, that ultimately he gets found guilty of, but nothing happens. And you got to put it on all the people that voted for him. I didn't vote for him.